Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to come in today and take part in this session. We really hope that you find great value in what Georgette's going to share today. I know that you will if you're at all paying attention, and it all seems you're all active members. Some of you are new members and various degrees, and there's going to be things that you're going to take from this session that if you apply to your membership, that will definitely change what you're doing here in Top Echelon Network. Today I wanted to spend time with Georgette Sandifer, and I think that she's done some really great things here in the network, and I thought it would be an opportunity for us to find out a little bit more about how she does things in Top Echelon. But let's go numbers-wise, because recruiters are all about numbers. Georgette, say hello to everyone.
Hey, everybody.
And everybody can say hello back to Georgette, but she won't hear you because you're all muted.
Hear you.
That's right. So since you joined in 2005, Georgette, you cashed in $249,939.
That's right.
That is a wonderful amount of money, and I think that probably alone has changed how things go for you in your world. Is that true?
It is. That I was doing some numbers, and that's about $31,000 a year. But in reality, this past year has been one of my better years. But there have been times when it's kept me afloat during the rough recruiting periods of time.
And did you seek out trading partner help when your pipeline was seemingly looking dismal at points?
I think Twanda can tell you better about that than anybody. Anytime that my pipeline gets slow, I get panicky and I immediately start calling my trading partners and saying, "What have you got that I can work on?"
So it's a nice thing to have during even the good times, and in the times where they're not so great, something to lean back on and find some help from your partners, right?
Oh, it absolutely is. Plus, when I very first joined the network, I immediately reached out to people that were doing things similar or were in my region, because I kind of had to learn the business by the seat of my pants, as so many of us do. So it wasn't just the splits, it was how I learned to recruit and everything else.
So when you came into the network and you just reached out to those people who were working in the same areas as you, did you have a bit of hesitation because you were talking to people that you had no clue on who they were?
Well, I started out with Trey Cameron, who everyone knows his personality, and then I got connected with someone, Al Katz and Chuck, who were in construction recruiting. And when you deal with people who have personalities like that, you end up feeling very, very comfortable.
I'll attest to that, of all the people that you just spoke of, for certain. In 26 times in the placement, in the 33 placements that you've made, you're the job order recruiter in the network. Is there a certain perspective that you have when, with the jobs that come across your desk on, what are you going to share? What are you not going to share, and how you interact?
Well, I've found, especially with regular partners, the more information they have, the better. So, for example, with Larry, we've done so much with the same type of candidate recently. He probably knows close to as much information about my client as I do. So I feel like if they know the background, basic benefits, basic operations, they can do a better job of coming up with the right candidates. So I share a lot of information.
Because it's a true partnership at that level.
It is.
Now, there's 3 different levels of the split placements that you've done in the network, Georgette, whether you realize this or not. You have the outer circle recruiters that you've done, one split with here and there, like Nick Stoya, Joanna Spahn, Chuck Sissom, Bob Gabor, who I think you're actually working on another one with, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we came close to closing another one recently, Bob and I stay in touch anyway, because I think I've done one for him, and no, he's done one, provided the candidate for me, but we've come close to me providing the candidate for him on a number of occasions.
Well, that's great. And I know he's real good about that. Now, the outer circle, we're getting closer here to the center here. The inner circle, there's a handful of people that you've made two splits with, like Trey Cameron, MJ Kalsa, Jim Strickland, and our beloved friend Chuck Sykovich. What's your frequency of contact with people like Chuck and Trey?
Well, Chuck and I have talked a lot more recently simply because of some of the areas I've been handling and since discovering him, because Drea, I had called you and said, who handles this sort of person? And you had given me 3 names, and Chuck was one of them, and it was kind of like I rediscovered Chuck because, like I said, used to work with him and Al back when I did construction before construction went down south. So Chuck and I fairly frequently. And Jim Strickland is off and on because he's just right up the street from me, and if I'm having trouble on something because he's got a huge search base, I'll send him information. So that's kind of an on-need situation.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Larry Radsley, and do you remember how you came across working with Larry? Because it didn't seem like an obvious match to me at first, but you've made quite a bit of headway with him.
Well, it's like I said, you reintroduced me to Chuck, and Larry and I sat down and talked about this and tried to remember. He knows I called him, and then my first email to him was last April 11th, and it's just been constant since then, but I don't know whether you or someone else referred me or whether I saw he had jobs that were similar, because I'm really good about checking the database for jobs and candidates, especially candidates that might fit my jobs. And when I saw what he had, we just started communicating, and boy, did he start popping the good candidates over to me.
Now, other than Larry looking great in yellow and being able to read minds and having a great sense of humor.
You just got looking great in yellow. That's supposedly a yellow halter dress.
Oh, really? So
we won't go into detail on that.
I'm sure Larry is blushing red right now. But can you tell us, other than those great things that you've mentioned in your comments over the years with him, what makes Larry a true partner? Not to say that anybody else you haven't worked with, but with the amount of placements that you've done with him, there's a dynamic going on there that I think we need to expose.
Well, part of the dynamic is the type of person I'm looking for. That's his field, that's his area. But the other thing is he really reads the job. And if he's unsure of something, he'll call and say, this guy's got A, B, and C, but does not have D. Is that a deal breaker? And we discovered together, for example, even though they were saying bachelor's degree, great thing about this particular group of jobs was they would take associates with the right amount of experience after we did some research. He also, normally he'll send it to me, and then he'll do a follow-up call to go through it with me, not just send it and hope I get around to it. If I haven't gotten around to it in about a day, because he knows I'm usually pretty quick, he either sends me an email or gives me a quick call. He's very, very good. If I need anything extra from him, I tend to, once I have a candidate, run with it, do the references, everything else. But if I need anything else from him, he'll get it for me. He also, since he's built in that area a while, he has gotten to know a lot of the candidates he's working with and has a good feel for their personalities and how they would produce in a situation, where they're weak, do I need to coach them extra for the phone interview, what to warn them about for the on-site interview, things like that.
Now, these are all these things that you're telling us that Larry does. Were they things that you had to establish when you first started to get to know each other as partners?
No, they weren't. Larry's just been great on that. Like so many of the other people I've worked with, he's always sent me a lot of detail. Now, I will say a couple of people that I work with closely, we don't go into as much detail. For example, if I'm busy with a bunch of jobs but trying to help someone else, I'll recruit, go through the basics, send them the resume and say, do you want me to qualify this one for you? And that's usually in a situation where we have to work quickly.
Now, we're going to move to how you work with Tawanda here in a minute, but between Larry and Tawanda, those have been your two big partners, as well as Bob Gabor and Chuck growing into that pretty quickly. What's your frequency of communication with these partners?
Well, we've gotten to be friends, of course, so we send jokes, or send emails back and forth, or information, or sometimes I call to, those of us who sit at a desk all day by ourselves, sometimes we need to unburden on each other or say, hey, are you seeing this? Is this just me? So we've got a totally friendship relationship on top of everything. We can find out what's going on as far as the industry as they see it. Are they having these problems? Or just gripe a little bit and get it out of our system.
So aside from partnering on the job orders and helping one another with candidates and job orders, you're also talking about another dynamic of partnership, which is really sharing what you're having issue with and trying to find out, what can my partners do with me or for me? Are they experiencing the same thing? So it's not just here's my job and let's qualify the candidates.
Exactly. And I remember one time in the southeast here, there was a candidate going around, an engineering candidate that was not too reputable, and boy did the people on the network get the word out in a friendly way, just beware of this particular candidate, call me if you have problems. So, also help me avoid a difficult situation with someone.
So your partners have also helped kind of help you understand the temperature of things around you in the industry.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Tawanda. She's a wonderful personality, but how did the two of you meet?
We talked briefly right before a Chicago conference, and we didn't find each other till almost the end of the conference, but it was just like, there's those people you meet in life. Oh my gosh, this is a great person to know. Mm-hmm. And we just started working together. We have almost instinctive understanding of what the other person wants on a job or what they need from a person that you don't always get. But again, it's another one that, if any of y'all have ever talked to Tawanda, oh my gosh, how can you not like her? She's so fun, and she maintains this high level of energy. It's great to work with her. And again, we stay in touch whether we're working on jobs together or not.
So even if you don't have anything you're working on, you're reaching out to one another and just staying in contact. Is it a call that says, hey, do you have anything that you need worked on, or just, hey, how are you?
Oh, sometimes call and catch up with what's going on in each other's lives, what we're doing, and then also, oh, by the way, do we need to talk about work?
Right. So again, there's even another level of dynamic to the relationships that you have. It's more on a personal level. You've got getting help with your orders, mm-hmm. and helping others with theirs. Getting industry knowledge and feedback on experiencing what's going on in the economy and in your job market, as well as how are you, my friend?
Exactly.
Now, I've read through some of the comments that others have made about you when they've made placements with you, and they've said that you're a true professional and give you give the search focused attention. Can you tell us, when you're working on someone else's order, what you're doing that makes it so focused, and why you have everything in your crosshairs? Can you tell us about that?
Well, as people who know me well, I'm a type A person. I like things to be right. I like things to be thorough. I like to really, and I'm not saying I haven't sent things out where people send them back and say, hello, Georgette, didn't you see that this person didn't have a bachelor's degree? Sometimes we miss little things, but when I'm doing a search for someone, I am trying to match the majority of the things that they're looking for in a person. For example, when I send someone out, if I know, hey, they're missing this, but they have been in this industry X number of years, and that might offset it. And, and My other rule is if someone turns me down and gives me the right reason, I'm not going to bug them about it. They know the client and the job better. But if I think they've missed something, I'll say, but did you see this? And at one point in time, Terry, I can't think of Terry's last name, did the same thing with me. And that's another person I've come close to making a split with a bunch of times because he made me look at the candidate in a different way. I also, one thing I can't recommend enough is I get my jobs into the database as quickly as I can.
When you put those job orders out there and you start to get responses from the membership, what is it that you're looking for from them?
Oh, I'm hoping for good candidates.
Other than the obvious,
yeah.
as far as how would you prefer and what has worked best for you when someone wants to work on a job with Georgette Sandifer?
Well,
you want email, phone conversations? What kind of discussion do you want to have on that job order?
Well, for example, if they've got questions on the job order and they think they've got someone but they're not quite sure to send them, I'd rather them call me. I just think you can convey so much more in a call when it's an information gathering thing than you can an email. Call me and say, give me why you're looking for this. Do they really need this? Would they consider, any of the questions that they have to qualify it. Now, some of the people that send me a resume that they think's a fit, and I'm interested, and they call me with a follow-up if they think it's just really dead on. Again, that's a good way for them to sell it to me. Or, a lot of people just send resumes that they think they look good, and sometimes they are good, and I hope they respect the fact that I pop back to them, this one isn't good because. I usually try to put a reason on it so they've got the feedback if they want to continue looking. And, of course, we all know we all get those bunches of emails from various sources, but my feeling is I can go through them very quickly, especially with the system we have in place to know I already have this candidate, not interested in this candidate, kind of interested in this candidate. It takes seconds to do that. And if I got one good candidate out of that a year, it probably was worth it to me with what most of my jobs run as far as the level.
And the amount of time that you had to spend.
I'm not a big complainer about getting emails unless they make no sense, and we all belong to different job boards. It's like when you get the Career Builder one that they work at Burger King, and you're going, seriously? And that one doesn't even deserve a reply, but most people are pretty good about sending you something that looks like it's going to be good.
Now, when you put your job orders into the system, what's your approach? I mean, where do you go? Do you set up an alert? Do you run searches? Do you pick up the phone first and start calling Tawanda and Bob and Chuck? Or what's your attack?
Yeah, my attack is usually I put it on top echelon very first when I get the job. If it's one that I want to put on the job board, of course I put it on the job board. Try to get all my posting done. I love the new section where you can just click the button and it goes direct to LinkedIn, and I'm very good about every couple of days or so I might repost it on LinkedIn to keep it out there. But I do a lot of search myself, as we all do in this industry. Now, for example, with some of the key ones where I know people work frequently in those areas, like obviously Larry, Chuck Sissom used to do just HR, so anytime I had an HR, I would be in touch with Chuck Sissom. If it's key areas, yeah, I call the other people immediately or pop them an email, could use some help on this one.
But you also do run searches.
Quickly.
Right. But you also do run searches in the split database.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think everyone should run searches in the split database, and I recently found out about the mega thing, and wow, how did I miss using that for so long? So, but the split database, even if you don't find the right candidate, you might discover someone else who is working with candidates like what you're looking for. It's a big help.
As far as the network being valuable to you, what do you think the most valuable dynamics that Top Echelon Network has given you in your recruiting efforts?
Since I came into this cold, working for a company that does nothing but temp and had no idea how or what to do this, in addition to the obvious, the split placements and making money has been the training. The relationships, obviously, I can't emphasize enough to attend conferences when you can, because it takes it to the next level. These people that you work with and talk with all the time. Information that's printed, Top Echelon, the surveys and everything I can use with my clients and candidates. I mean, how can you say which is the most important other than the obvious, the split placement? And it's just a great, great resource for everything.
Other than working with Larry Radsley, can you give any of the members in the network, some tips on some, things that they should consider implementing to their desk with their membership?
I don't know how many people out there are using Big Biller, but I know a lot of people that aren't even on Top Echelon that are using Big Biller, and I think the combination of having Big Biller and Top Echelon is golden. I really do. The other thing is go ahead and reach out to people. When I first got in the business, obviously Trey was one of the people I called, and Ray Fehrenbach. And I thought Ray and I had a slip on here, but maybe not. Ray was very good about giving an overall, because he's been in the industry so long, and giving me pointers. I'm still, we're always needing more jobs, more trading partners. Just reach out to everyone out there. There's an awful lot of information in these people's minds.
Well, we have some time, Georgette. If anybody has any questions that they would like to ask of Georgette, just go down to the bottom of the GoToMeeting tool that's up on your screen, and you'll see where it says question, and go ahead and type in your question. We'll give you a minute or two to chime in here, and we can kind of throw these at Georgette if there are any. But you've been very, very helpful and descriptive in conversation, Georgette, to kind of paint the picture on how you've been so successful and build over $250,000 at Top Echelon in the past 7 years.
And you'll have to read out the questions, too.
I am trying to get the screen here. Cindy's asking us. Obviously, it helps if you. Okay. Cindy wants to know how much time do you spend marketing for new clients a day?
For new clients, not enough, because I'm in that unenviable position that all of us get in once in a while, where I got overly concerned the last 3 months of the year because I was so busy. And I'll be honest, during that 3 months I didn't. My New Year's goal that I've been doing is I am doing an hour each morning except for Friday, and sometimes an extra hour on Thursday afternoon to go after candidates, because I ended up, my top client has put a freeze on everything until April.
Paula wants to know, you had mentioned another resource that you use. Was it Career Builder?
I use Career Builder right now. I know everyone has their favorites. Career Builder, I think, is just set up a little bit better for that. But I also have, I use LinkedIn like crazy, doing searches for candidates and sending out information, and for clients. And Zoom Info is something I've gotten to do a trial through the loan out of a good friend lately. And Zoom Info has really impressed me with finding contacts. It's been really good.
Well, I think that's all the questions that we've got here. We'll look through real quick. Anybody have any last questions before we close the session today? Go ahead and chime in very quickly. But other than that, Georgette, I want to thank you for taking this time out of your day, because I know you're very busy, and sharing with everyone, the way that you've done things in the network over the years, and how important the membership has been to you, and especially the partners and the relationships that you've built over the time you've been here.
Can I say one last thing?
Certainly.
And I should have said this earlier. The group meetings, the virtual meetings for IT group, manufacturing group, or anything else, those are great to listen into or to share the information. Also, the staff at Top Echelon, like when I've had a technical problem or anything else, I've been involved with a lot of companies that you have to do different things, but it's great to get the quick and prompt feedback from Top Echelon that we get.
Do you think that attending conferences, Top Echelon Network conferences, have been a benefit to what you've been doing here?
Huge, huge. Besides, they're a lot of fun.
They are a lot of fun. I try to make sure that happens.
Yeah, Mariah has taught us so many great games.
That's right. She's a lot of fun, isn't she? And, I think, I've seen you interact at the conferences over the years, and it's been fun watching you, just turn into this superpower. So I want to thank you again for doing this, and I wish you the best of the year 2013. And thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thanks.
Take care and have a beautiful day.
Okay, thanks, Drea.
Okay, bye.